I'm Dr. Manuel Astruc. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist. I help entrepreneurs who are suffering from depression get back to being energetic, productive, and very confident. There's someone out there who I owe a massive apology to. And I don't know his name, I just know like the nickname he was going by in this conference in 2012. He's an attorney, and he went by Beer with Shamir was the name that he was using in this marketing conference that I had gone to. And what happened was, in this mastermind, we were going around and talking about our business problems. This was the first conference that I had gone to that was not medical or psychiatric. It was a marketing conference. And I was sweating bullets. I was nervous about talking about my aspirations for developing a coaching business and getting out of my comfort zone as a psychiatrist, where I had locally, kind of my brand, and I was a respected expert in the field, and I was going to be doing things different. When I had a chance to talk about my aspirations, this gentleman, Beer with Shamir, he asked me such a great question. He says, what's the one thing that you would tell someone in order to help them to change their lives? And instead of digging in and going to try to answer that question, I told him that question was too simplistic. People are way more complicated. There's no one thing that you can tell someone to help them to change their life. And I just shut down that conversation. But it stuck with me, and for years I've been thinking about that. What's the one thing that I would tell someone to help them to change their life? And over time, I've gotten a list of things that I think are incredibly important, and there is one thing that is the most important thing that I would tell folks to help them change their lives. And I would just want to go through this list of top pieces of advice that I would give people. I'll finish off with the number one. So you are enough. So many people come to see me and they're feeling inadequate. They're comparing themselves to other people. They're taking in messages that they've received through their childhood and in school and at work. And they're feeling inadequate. And it's the root of a lot of misery for people. Here's the reality. We are all perfectly imperfect. And to compare ourselves to anybody else out there is just going to lead to despair. To compare is to despair. What you want to be looking at is, where are you today? And what's the growth that you're making looking backwards? Like, where were you a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Measure the progress that you're making towards the goals that you're setting for yourself. You are enough. Your current situation, if you look at your life, is the perfect outcome of everything that you have done, right? So take responsibility. Where you are today is the result of all the actions you have taken or not taken, the choices that you have made. If you want your life to be different, you're going to have to be making different choices and doing different things, or your life's going to look very much the same next year. Practicing gratitude is one of the best ways for us to influence our mood and our level of happiness. When we're looking every day for things to appreciate and to be grateful about, it absolutely enhances our level of happiness in the world. Accepting the world as it is instead of how you want it to be is one of the ways for us to enhance our happiness and for us to change our lives. There's a story from F. Scott Peck in the book, The Road Less Traveled, I don't recommend the book. There's some weird stuff in there, but this one section was really good. So he talks about we all have a map in our head of how the world is, and then there's how the world really is. And when we're experiencing emotional pain or angst, what's happening is that the map in our head and how the world really is are kind of mashing up against each other. So for instance, we walk into a building that's actually in the world where our head is saying there should be no building. And our first reaction, and our second and third and fourth reaction a lot of times is, this is a dumb place for a building. Who put a building here? We should move this building. Instead of adjusting the map in our head, accepting this is the way the world is. There's a building here. What am I going to do about that so that I don't keep walking into it? Focus on yourself. For a lot of us, we grow up and what we're taught is to think of other people. For those of us who do creative work and who are looking at an audience and marketing, we're oftentimes inside other people's heads. What do they want? What do they need? In our relationships with our spouse, our kids, our community, our loved ones, we're oftentimes focused on how to make other people happy, how to give other people what they want. And it's oftentimes at the expense of ourselves. And it's important for us to be putting our needs as high as everybody else's needs. Focusing on ourselves is frequently overlooked, and there's a fear that we're going to be selfish if we do that, and we feel guilty for like making our needs important. Focusing on yourself can change your life. The feeling of awe is one that we forget about. I love to look at the sky in the morning. I love to look at clouds. They remind me of this feeling of awe. Mother Nature, beauty. There's awe in the world all around us. And we miss it all the time if we're not looking for it. Here's the number one thing that I would tell someone to change their life. And it's to remember that you get to choose. You get to choose how you show up in the world. You get to choose what you think, what you believe. You get to choose the attitudes that you're having every single day. There are two quotes from Viktor Frankl, who was a psychiatrist who was in World War II in a prisoner of war camp. And he wrote a book that he talks about his experiences. And in this book, there's two famous quotes. So one of them is, everything can be taken from a man, but the one thing, the last of the human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given circumstances, the ability to choose one's own way. It's one of my favorite quotes. And the other quote that he has is that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So remembering that we have choice is a superpower, and that's what I would tell people in order to help them to change their life. The one thing. Thanks, Shamir. One of the choices that you have is to get help if there's something that you're struggling with. If you're stuck in your life, either you're stuck because of depression or anxiety, or you're an entrepreneur and you know that there's more space for you to grow in and you're just not able to do it, get help. So in my private practice, we help folks. And in my coaching practice, I help entrepreneurs who are successful, who want to be even more successful.